In episode 3, Ted and the group are excited to introduce Zava to the world. They have a noon press conference scheduled, and beforehand, they start talking about what they're going to do with Zava in the lineup. Someone's going to have to come out, and it's going to be Colin. But the exciting thing about having Zava on your team is that he can pretty much play anywhere. It doesn't matter. And the coaches aren't the only ones who are excited, so are Zava's teammates. Everybody except Jamie. Jamie doesn't seem to understand the big deal about having Zava on Richmond. Although it does seem like it's more of a jealous thing than an overrated thing. Everybody, though, has to head out to the pitch for the introductory press conference, and it's packed. With media members, with fans. But the one person who's missing is Zava. No one knows where he is. Rebecca, Higgins, Keeley, they all start trying to do damage control and figure out, one, if the contract is signed, which it is, and two, what they're going to do if they can't find this guy. They can't have people just waiting around. On top of it, Zava being late is screwing up Rebecca's plans. She has a meeting with a fortune teller who her mother suggested she try out. And while Rebecca thinks it's ridiculous, she's going to do it anyway. After a little while, the stress of Zava not showing up is really getting to Rebecca, so she pulls Ted and Keeley upstairs to figure out what they're going to do next, while she sends Leslie out to be a sacrificial lamb in front of the crowd. When they get up to Rebecca's office, they're surprised, though, because Zava is sitting there in her chair. She kicks him out of her chair and then introduces him to Ted for the first time. And Zava's a different dude, but he is excited to meet Ted, and he seems to be open to being coached. He's also winning over just about everybody, including Keeley. But Keeley isn't the only one who is amazed by the sheer presence of Zava. So are his teammates when he finally makes his way down to the locker room. They are all stunned to be finally in the presence of the great Zava. He makes a speech to the group addressing the most important person in the room, Will, the equipment manager, because he used to be a ball boy. He appreciates what people behind the scenes do. He then does a weird breathing exercise in order to bond with his teammates. As I said, very different dude, very eccentric. But nobody other than Jamie really questions any of it. They're just excited to have somebody with this much talent on their team. With Zava getting integrated to his teammates, it allows Rebecca to run out and meet up with her mother's psychic. The two women sit down and they do a weird exercise with a bowl. And the woman starts getting a vision of a green matchbook in Rebecca's hand. And she claims that it's very special to her. She then hears somebody speaking to her about a shite in knighting armor. You heard that correctly. At this point, Rebecca thinks that this woman is nuts. It's a waste of her time. She gets up to leave, and that's when the psychic tells her, you're going to have a family. You're going to be a mother. And at that prediction, Rebecca actually curses the woman out. Back over with her club, Keeley is doing a PR campaign about the arrival of Zava. She's interviewing some of the players about their feelings on it. Everybody's positive. And Roy walks in and says, Keeley, if you need an interview, I'll do it for you. And this is a big deal because Roy doesn't do interviews. And Shandy steps up and says, well, yeah, I'll interview you. Why did you dump my friend? And because of her brashness, Roy knows exactly who Shandy is. He remembers Keeley talking about her. Roy walks out because he's not about to waste his time with Shandy of all people. Roy walks back into his office and he interrupts a conversation between Jamie, Beard, and Ted. Jamie's a little concerned because he knows about players like Zava. They're all about themselves, he says. And this comes as a real surprise to Roy and everybody else because the irony of Jamie Tart talking about a selfish player is not lost on anyone in the room. Beard says as much. And Ted just tells Jamie, look, man, we're going to give it a couple games and see how it goes. The next day is Zava's AFC Richmond debut. And the message is clear from Roy and the rest of the coaches. Get the ball to Zava. Right before they head out to the pitch, though, Ted remembers that Henry has a big game that day, and he wants to call him up and wish him good luck. He can't find his cell phone, so he picks up his office phone, and he realizes he doesn't remember Michelle's phone number. He's pretty surprised at himself, but he decides to just call the house. And that's when another guy answers the phone. The guy on the other end is doing a pretty decent Donald Trump impression, and Ted, as per usual, plays along with it. But the guy gets really uncomfortable because he knows Ted. His name is Jacob Bryanson, and he was actually Ted and Michelle's marriage counselor. It's extremely uncomfortable for Dr. Jacob, and it's also pretty surprising to Ted. Ultimately, Ted is able to wish Henry good luck, but he's pretty shell-shocked at this. He has to switch modes, though, from being shocked that the guy who was supposed to save his marriage is now tucking his wife in goodnight from 4,000 miles away to actually coaching a match. Not to worry, with the addition of Zava, AFC Richmond go out and win. And the next week, they win. And the week after that, and they win, and suddenly, they're pretty close to the top of the table, right there with West Ham. The addition of Zava has really paid off for them in the standings. But even though he's having career success, the Dr. Jacob thing is really eating at Ted. When he's not at the pitch and he's not working, it's all he can really think about. This dude giving Henry high fives after he scores. This dude giving his wife high fives after they score on each other. It's just awkward. He does talk to Dr. Sharon about it, but that's only going so far. But if you didn't know any better, you'd think everything was going great because everything is going great for Richmond. After 6 games, the team is 5-1. They're the Cinderella team of the year, and they're crushing it. So much so that after the latest win, Sam invites the entire team to a soft opening of his restaurant. The entire team does show up that night. Everybody's having a good time, and that includes Colin, who lost his starting job to Zava, but hey, he's cool with it because it's with Zava. He even invited a friend. He introduces Michael as just his mate to all of his teammates, but Michael is a lot more than that because Colin has been hiding a secret, and that's the fact that he's gay. Michael isn't just his mate, it's his boyfriend. But Michael knows to play the part. So when he meets all of Colin's teammates, he just says, yeah, I'm the best wingman in the world. The only person at this party who doesn't seem to be having a good time is Jamie. While Zava is scoring on the pitch nonstop, Jamie is in a bit of a slump. The addition of Zava has taken the shine away from him quite a bit, but he also isn't getting the ball as much, which means he's pressing. When he does get the ball, he kicks it way over the net. So while everyone's enjoying the food and the ambiance, Jamie can't help but think that he's become a weak link. It also doesn't help the fact that he's not getting the ball. Roy notices Jamie sulking in the corner, so he decides to walk up to him and say, dude, what is going on with you? We're on a 5-game win streak. Why aren't you happy? And Roy gets his answer when Zava walks in the room, and Jamie kind of scoffs at it. Roy looks at Jamie and says, he's the best player on the team. You used to be, but now you're not. And you still could be the best if you weren't such a prima donna. Jamie tells Roy, I want to be better than him. And Roy says, I could train you. And Jamie says, yeah, I want this. So the training starts right then and there. Roy ain't letting Jamie eat any of this food, no matter how delicious it is. Sam, though, didn't invite just the team to this party. He also invited the front office, and that includes his former fling, Rebecca. While she's having a good time hanging out with Keely, what she heard earlier the day from that psychic is still sitting with her. She's been trying to make sense of all of it all day, and she just can't. That is until Sam starts handing out some party favors, and they're matchbooks for his restaurant. Green matchbooks. He hands them out to everybody, including Trent Krim, who takes one before he leaves and starts to walk home. And he looks down an alley not too far away from the restaurant, and he notices that Colin is hooking up with Michael. And it's hard to tell whether he'll include that in the book or not. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.